Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome. How are you doing with these 888 portal energies? Welcome. My name is Anka. And yeah, I'm so curious how everybody is surfing and navigating these energies, this expansive fire type period. And today I'm sharing that from my angle with you. I'm sharing my practice and the context within that practice. The word practice has changed for me. I was using it as a noun, and I was putting things in my practice. And a couple of days ago, I realized that no, it's the verb. I just need to physically practice this multi-dimensionality within a context. So I've been working on kind of developing these fixed variables, right? Or deciding what is absolutely fixed, or maybe you can call them values. I don't know, whatever. What are my fixed values? What are things that they're completely free to move around, to change, to transform, to transmute, to leave altogether, whatever. And that context is super important, especially when we have a practice that takes a lot of focus. Um, and and that's how I done things all along. So that part is not really new to me. Just rethinking this context, right? So this context is like the background. What is my stability? And of course, we're still talking infinity, right? We're talking unlimited space. Although I have to say, if you need the space to be smaller and your values to be hugging your practice a little bit more because things are way too chaotic, a smaller a space, a context, a background, I don't even know what to, just the space in my mind, sort of, and it's my being, right? I feel that is very useful. So, yeah, make sure that, I'm sharing where I'm at, but yeah, hopefully this is inspiration and take whatever inspires you and build on that, right? So, this practice stuff, it's so interesting because I've been called to step into a regular practice, right? So I have my morning routine, and the way I was thinking about this practice is the what are the things within my practice, right? And I realized that even though I knew that I have to modify and change whatever I've been doing to the now, to what's going on right now with the Lion's Gate and everything else. And yet I wasn't quite getting it. But having that routine in the morning again and having more of a structure, I think did help to get to this idea that, oh, it's the practice the verb, not to practice the noun. And what do I mean by that? I really think that over the past, whatever, a month or two, maybe longer than that, we got to practice this and that and this and that. And now we get to put it all together. And so this multidimensional aspect, I feel like it's coming in now because whatever this next phase is, we're going to use it, right? It's not just here to admire it. Yes, actually, yes, it is here to be admired and for us to rejoice and celebrate that. But I have a feeling we're to be using it in the next phase. And so this multidimensional self and whatever skill sets that's coming with that, right? that is what we need to practice. So if you felt like you're about to be clairvoyant, or your clairvoyant gifts are kind of working hard to come online, or clairaudience, or clairsentient, whatever, or a healing modality, or an invention, you're working on an idea, all those things, it's part of this multidimensional self, because we've given a taste over and over again how it is to be within the 3D. But see, if you have been moving with the cycles, with these cosmic waves over the past 3 years or 4, it doesn't matter where you have been, how advanced, let's just say, you've been into spirituality. I think the last maybe 4 years have been monumental, right? And or maybe it's just this wave of volunteers since 2020. I don't know, but in my world, in my experience, 2012, yes, was a big marking, was a big shift, but that acceleration was sort of small compared to 2020, when we started to move into that parabolic part of the curve. And a lot more people got online, but they didn't just get online, they get online so hard, right? So there was a self-guidance that happened just with the cycles, just with the cosmic waves, the codes, the type of light that was physically coming in. So if you've been working with that, most likely your point of view, your assemblage point, your perception is in a different bandwidth, and it's a different consciousness, right? Maybe it's in 5D, maybe it's in 60, 70, wherever it's at. But if this is 3D, our 5D is encompassing that. The 60 is encompassing the 5, 4, 3, right? So wherever your perception is, this assemblage point from which you understand, from which you interact with reality, with creation, your mode of perceiving, right? Your consciousness level. It's like we moved in that space. We then maybe moved into the body, or we operated within that space, kind of like in a focal point, right? So, for example, on Thursday or whenever, I had my kickboxing class, and I was reflecting on that, because it was like, again, this is so great. Because yes, you're working on your kicks, and you get really good at kicking in a certain way, right? And your footwork, right? And then you, separately from that, for 2 classes or whatever, you're working on your arm and your punches. And then there comes a class where you're putting it all together. And even though you got really good at your footwork, and you got really good at your punch work, when you put it all together, you're starting again from the beginning, sort of, right? And there's a much bigger complexity that you have to focus on all at once, right? So you're going to make more mistakes. You're going to, even the focus has to be wider, right? Because it's like you have to be aware, your space to the opponent when you're kicking is a little bit different, right? Than when you're punching. And so it's not even about the kicking and the punching, but also the awareness of what is your distance. So there's more things than just the sum of those combinations. And I feel like that's where we are at, and that's what this practice as a verb is all about. It's us practicing. Our level of perceiving is in 5D or 60 or 80. I don't care, like where it's at. And yet we're needing to do all that within the Russian doll piece. We're not just the outer doll and the next doll, and right? It's all connected. And so what does that mean when you're meditating from that perspective, or when you're cleaning your house from that perspective, or whatever it is you're doing, this gift that is about to come in? that requires some practice, right? Even though it's within you, even though the code has been activated, your DNA has integrated it on a physical level, but now it's like, how are you gonna be using it, right? Because it might take an alignment, a focus, a feeling. Right now, we're not just focusing on the feeling. It's like an expansive mind within a free flow of the feeling as you're focusing on a certain area, if it's the third eye or, throat chakra or whatever it is, right? So all that combination is calling to be practiced. So, and I also believe that the clearing that happened right when the portal opened up, the first illumination. Well, for me, the first illumination was a huge resistance. Right? My body got a glimpse of it and said, "Whatever that thing is over there, it's not coming through this. Figure it out. There needs to be a different way to integrate that monstrosity, but it's not coming through this, or it's not coming through how you used to integrate." So that's what I've been working on. I've been working on a different way to integrate through this light body. And that's what I'm talking about in all these different aspects. Because you've done this work, most likely your light body is on, your Merkaba is on, or Merkaba, I don't know, whichever. And we have to figure this out. How does it work? How do we control it? How do we control the spin, right? The velocity of that, like what does it do, right? And the integration process of not only the volume of light, but it's like the lumens, the heightened love quotient of this light through the densities might be too much to come in directly into the body. So the translation through the light body that we have is being asked for us to do, and maybe these skills, right? Whatever these gifts are instrumental within the integration, the new integration that, well, it's almost like we don't have much choice. We step in it or we're frying ourselves, our nervous system. We're not like pulverizing or anything like that. But if we are open to receive what is available right now, right, it can be so much for our nervous system. So that's, to me, what this practice means. It's like you're literally working with your energy body. So what does that mean for you? So every day, dedicating that time within a very mechanical, very practicing, right? You're really starting from the beginning, and you're putting things together, like what has happened over the past couple months that I need to put together to figure myself out. How do I work within this multi-dimensionality, right? And so as I'm practicing that, and it's so interesting. So we're in the foothills of Colorado. We have this fire that is going on at the bottom of the canyon. We are in pre-evacuation zone, right? It's set. Be ready to evacuate at any time type deal. And I've been working for the past 3 days. Wow, only 3 days. I guess this is the 4th day, but wow. There's been many meditations and just working with the fire within fire energy. So interesting. And I am fire. So I feel like I got to explore so much, right? And having the understanding finally that no, the fire was kind of like a tool, or like not a tool, an opportunity for me to practice healing and control, right, over the elements. And that's not the right way. It's like a working together. The Three of Pentacles came, actually, that was monumental for me when the Three of Pentacles came, because it's like, I don't know what else to do, right? I feel there were so many emotional waves with the fire that the fire itself had to move into. And then I got into this point where it's like, I don't know what to do, because it just keeps going. The momentum keeps coming. And the Three of Pentacles came. And it's like, oh, okay, the fire is the partner. I need to be working with that. And I've done that, or I thought I've done that. But with this realization that it's like, no, you need to come to it from this respect, the same way that you would approach anyone. That was a huge lesson for me, right? Because it was like, and I asked it. I asked it, it's like, what do you need? That was actually my first question. And yet it wasn't quite complete. It wasn't, I was still, I think, asking it from, what do you need for you to actually go away? you know, that was, I think maybe the way the first approach didn't really work. And then once I got to know it, I got to know the emotional phase that it was going through. So when I went back to it, it's like, okay, we're collaborators. I really do respect you. And how do we work together on this project, right? And the whole thing changed. So that was a lot of the practice for me was within that theme, and was really eye-opening. So yeah, to me, that's the task. What is the practice as the verb? A very tangible rediscovery, or yes, a new working within this multidimensional self, using that capability. So the next thing, that was kind of, I felt like a little bit long, but the context within that, to me, that was really important to build. Because if the context, like I said before, if that context is solid, and you have that stability, it's like, for me at least, right, I can just relax, because I kind of created this. It's kind of like a mission statement, if you want. I have that huge big image within the space that I can develop this practice. So I can now, because if that's stable, I have this safety, I have this space that I can move about, and I can really focus within this, and not have way too many variables being changed all at once. And so I got to ask myself, okay, what are the variables within this Lionsgate? We have such opportunity through this thing that is coming about. And it's like, if you are coming into this type of clarity, the energy will do the work, right? Because you're just so clear. You can be within that presence of that clarity, and this fire will just move, right? Because it's very intense creative space. So everything that's not that, destruction, at least in my life, the chaos, the pressure of those things that are done with, even the darkness is being rushed out, right? Because whatever it is that you are creating is taking over, and it needs that space. So to me, this context is probably the most important thing right now to kind of reflect on. So I have like 3 things, and I even wrote them down this time. So so number 1 is, who am I? That is such a staple. And the who am I is not something that you define in your mind. It's not to be analyzed and have a name to it. Now, if you know who you are in as the spiritual self, because some people do, it's like, okay, that's great. For me, it's like a column, right? It's like a channel, and the who am I? Well, there's always connection to source, so that's the line to that. It's always that, but there's this channel, and the channel, I guess, it's kind of like the yeah, the point of view, the where do I place my attention within consciousness? But with that, there comes a capacity to move energy within that consciousness, within that bandwidth, right? And so, to me, the who am I is kind of dependent to the circumstance, right? So if I just want to have a date with the divine, this is a dispensa thing, and I still love that piece of it. So yeah, I'm just hanging out with God. The who am I is totally different than the who am I when I do a healing on the individual. And even that, like if we're just working on the individual within this lifetime, within this body, right, a very localized type of healing, I my bigness doesn't have to be very big. I take a certain form, right? If that individual is within their multi-dimensionality and they're working with complexity within those lines and within aspects of the multidimensional self, that's a whole different story. I have to become way bigger. Now, if I'm working with collective energy, so we're talking planetary energetic waves and themes, that's a whole different ball game. I have to become way bigger, right? Where planets are the same size as I, right? So same with the fire. The fire was this little candle, right? As I'm working on it. So the who am I in this space? And I'm very visual, right? So maybe that's part of it as well. Like the who am I is like a literal size within that column of consciousness, and then with that consciousness comes abilities and knowingness and capacities. That's what capacities. So but knowing that, because to me now it's almost like, okay, if that was sort of like a practice for you before, for me it's almost like every single moment of the day you need to be in the who am I. Even that, that might vary. Again, for me, that varies. But just know that, right? It's like a type of sovereignty, of a type of authenticity. It's like we don't have the luxury to just come into that in our meditations. It's like, no, pretty much all the time that you need to be in that space all the time. And actually, with that, I do have. I didn't write this down, but that came up yesterday. So let's call it 1A. Know who you are at all times, but also know who you are interacting with. Because and what's interesting? It's know who you are interacting with within the context of the interaction, because maybe the same person, if it's a different subject or a different theme or whatever, they might be a larger person, but if they're squeezed, they have whatever, or if it's a particular subject, their consciousness level is in 3D, and it's kind of like stuck in 3D. It's a very fixed point. And so if you're coming with a point of view of your 5D or 6D or 8D, and you're not realizing, because you're really admiring this person, right, or whatever, and you're thinking, oh, this person is also into 5D or whatever, but in this particular subject they moved into this 3D, and now you're interacting at different levels. And so to me, what I'm seeing is that so much misunderstanding, and then from misunderstanding comes conflict, because we're so hopeful. We're in a way, we're a little bit naive. We're a little bit innocent, in who we think we're interacting with. And so if we are coming from this clarity, the openness, I'm kind of assessing, okay, what, and it's not the person, right? But again, it's like within this context of what of our interaction here. If I fully come into clarity where I am I being triggered by this event, right? Because is my consciousness maybe have dropped into the 3D Russian doll within me, or am I able to stay within 5D or above? Okay, if I'm good, okay, I'm at 5D. Where's this person, right? So just assessing that a little bit and having that clarity, automatically it's like, okay, I'm not forcing something, right? I'm extending a point of view, or I'm extending help. And that's huge, because if you're extending help, make sure that it is truly help from that higher compassion, from that heart space, that unconditional heart space, which sometimes can look like there is no heart, because you can see that by helping in a way that the person is asking for that help, if that is a 3D, it has, if that's a victim mentality type need, you're not helping, you're enabling, right? And so I can't stress the who am I, and recognizing the point of view in the other person, I feel would just take the misunderstanding before it happens. You can navigate a situation, um, even though navigating those situations are tough. It's not it's here's the practice. That's another skill. How do you express that? What type of words do you use? How do you lend a support that is, again, truly a support? That is a skill. And coming into that skill, coming into this practice, and it's almost like whenever you set this perimeter, this context, this whatever, this background with these type of values, you don't have to go out of your way. The universe will bring the stuff to you. Here is stuff that you need to practice. It's like, oh boy, thank you so much. Again, if that effort is placed on the front end and you are staying within that practice and you're doing your best within that practice, and you don't have to be great at the beginning, I think just striving, being aware of what's going on and really practicing goes such a long ways that you don't have to deal with the consequences of that. And sometimes the effort of the consequences, you don't want to go there. We've had those lessons, right? I don't know about you, but to me, it's like, I got it. So what effort do I need to put up front? Worth it. Worth it. Okay. So that was just number one. Wow. I didn't have all that in my notes. That just kind of came up. Okay. Number two. Okay. This is such a new thing for me. Recognizing and celebrating yourself within that point of view, the assemblage point. And I noticed that we went on a hike. I said nothing, right? It's because it's like, what is going on? Everybody, my kids were like, Mom, look at this flower. Look at this rock. Look at this flower. No, this one is more. Nature was calling for this. Do you see me? And myself, I was like, okay, my radiance. Do you guys see my light? And I know I got it. Like, we moved into Leo season. And to me, the Leo season is all about the sun. The sun is Ra. When I think about Ra, it's like, I am Ra, like, see me, but not see me in it's like, can we share in this luminosity? Can we share in this majestic presence, And these flowers on this trail and nature was exactly like that. Can you please celebrate me? Look at the colors, look at the arrangement. And even though there's the same type of flowers, this one had more purple, and this one had a light purple, an purple. This one had all this, and it was just like, look at the variation. Can you pick one? Can you pick? No, because it was just so, the celebration. It was literally like a celebration of every flower, and it was so fun. It was not just me. So I found that like so fascinating, and it was just so intoxicating. And that day, actually, within a couple of days of that, I must have had like 50 pictures of different flowers, and I wanted to make a meditation. I still want to do it, to contemplate on the flowers, right? And this is a true practice, and it's a kind of worship, right? Like you're worshiping, you're seeing the creative potential, but the creative, what creativity can do. Anyway, I am seeing that within myself. So when I go into this I am, who am I? The next thing that comes up for me is like, I'm going to celebrate myself, right? And it's not egoic. I'm not talking about this. This is like a recognition of this luminosity, right? The love, it's a celebration of how far we have come. It's, the recognition, but there's another word. It's, gratitude for the I don't even know for what. It's just like gratitude. Like I'm so happy with this I, right? And I just want to celebrate it. And so in the practice, me personally, this is what I'm seeing. So the other thing that I'm practicing is light language. And again, with this fire, because I can't do light language unless it's like coming, unless I'm in this specific flow, especially when it comes with these cosmic projects, or even if a person is ready for that and is being asked for a different structure, then light language comes. But I've been kind of having a hard time getting myself into this mode that it's like, okay, do some light language now. Okay, like I can't make it up, right? Like I can't just do this. It's like it has to flow, and the flow is not there. So working with this fire, I'm trying to create, because that's what light language to me is. It's a geometric shape. I'm weaving these geometries through my fingers, and to me, they're literal dense light structures within the astral space, right? And so I'm trying to create these perimeters within the fire. It's like, okay, wherever the fire you went, but this is a plasma type energetic wall that, let's celebrate you. And yesterday, that now that we've moved through all these emotional ups and downs that the fire had initially, we got to the space where when I went into the meditation, the fire was like, celebrate me. I'm like, I know, I get you. So I had to celebrate and do this dance, because it's like, you did so good. You did really well. You had so much momentum, and you had this, and it's like, I see you. I'm celebrating this power that you have, the speed that you're moving, all this stuff. So even the fire, this is, I think the biggest lesson, it's like everything is the same. Everyone is the same. And everyone wants to be treated. This healing that we're doing, it doesn't matter if I'm working on an individual, if I'm working on a rock, if I'm working on a fire, it wants and it does the same exact stuff. It's always just like, of course. I mean, of course, but just to have that experience, it's just kind of like, whoo. But with this, what was I going to say with the light language? Okay, and so I go to my team, and I'm like, why can't I just do the light language? Because I know I'm not channeling. I know that this who I am is entering. It's like it's accessing this thing, whatever bandwidth, and it is me. It is that I that is channeling, that is working. I'm not channeling it from a different being. I'm just channeling the energy. I don't have my water. All right, I had to get some water. I'm back. So I'm practicing this light language, and I know that it's still the I. It's still a I, a certain I within my column of the who I am. What is interesting, when I got into this recognition of myself, this celebrating me, but not me, this body, right? Because this body is the planet, right? So there's no ego in this whole equation, but it's this, without that love for self, that flow would go away and I could not channel the light language. So I had to practice staying in this admiration of what was coming through, and how this whole practice, it was just like a bathing, a worship. It was this allowing this flow to come through. And then I knew how to make a plasma light language perimeter around the fire. All of a sudden, it was just like, boom, okay, you're back in a space. And the reason why it wasn't happening originally, because my team is like, well, this is your project. Yeah, go ahead. Like, you have this creative force. You can do it. This is not a cosmic thing. This fire has nothing to do with what we're doing here. So, yeah, go ahead. And I was a little bit, disappointed and angry. I'm like, can you still help? Like, there's firefighters out there. Like, you guys have no idea what, well, maybe you do, but they're going through treacherous terrain and all this other stuff. Like, everybody needs some help here, especially since the fire was not organic. It was set, there's a arson investigation. Anyway, so that was number 2. This recognizing and celebrating the new self, the new point of view. Huge for me personally. And number 3 is it's kind of connected, I guess, with number 2, is about the loyalty, where you are placing your loyalty, right? Because this attention, this focus, if it's not on the self, then what is it on? I guess. Let me see my notes. Okay, so what I got with that, see, I already forgot from yesterday, from last night. What I got is that it's this creation ability that you're stepping into right now, right? It's like this connection between the multidimensional self within the astral, and combining, integrating with the material as this dimension, the material as the dimension of form. You're figuring it out. And as this integration is happening through whichever modality, through whichever gift is coming through you, that you are able to recreate whatever form that you are attached, or whatever situation, or whatever relationship, or whatever that is still form. You're able to recreate that tenfold from a different and higher consciousness. So this loyalty, this attention, this focus, if that is not placed on the self, this multidimensional self, you're compromising, right? And I feel this period right now. There's a card in I don't even know what it is, an Osho Zen deck in the tarot, compromise, and the way he defines it is like, oh, you compromise, that's a lose-lose situation. Because in our mind we think kind of, oh, we're compromising, we're coming to a deal, it's a win-win situation. In this aspect of it, within this context, this space-time that we are in right now, in our light bodies. So, okay, from within the light body, when you compromise and you place your loyalty outside of the self, this authenticity, this merging, the integration of this multidimensional self, you will leave potential on the table. It's like the universe is bringing you the positive karma. It's like, here's 100% of your positive, everything that you have endured, everything that you moved into or all the efforts, right? Because you stayed true to that positive polarization, and that's not free. You're paying over and over again to stay on that path. Okay, but you've created so much positive karma. Here's your positive karma, and you would say, "Oh, I'll take 20% of that, thank you." And the universe goes, "Wait, what? What do you want to do? You have 80%." But yeah, it's a practice. That's what it is. You're coming back into this practice of, okay, where's my loyalty? If I compromise now, then what, right? And with this loyalty, again, these are some hard value setting, and when you set them, again, it's not like you have to do anything. Those are set. Now you're practicing this that you're setting within your world. That maybe that's a different way to explain it. You're literally, through creating this context, you're actually creating your own world. When you define that world through these things, the universe